the Department of Energy Secretary, Chris Wright, the other from the Deputy Secretary. And then I will touch base on our continuing use of IP2M meter and how we're leveraging AI to support that as well. So, for those of you that don't know, most folks here are Department of Energy. PM-30 project controls. We conduct required reviews and validations of EVMS for national security projects. We also manage DOE's system of record, PARS, to provide federal accountability. The bullets here, for the most part, have not changed. There is a couple of them that we've begun to evolve a little bit. We do work in partnership with a number of different constituents across the complex. We establish, maintain, and execute an EVMS certification surveillance review capability. Prior to about a month ago, we were the only ones that did that. There will now be 2 CFAs supporting projects within the DOE complex going forward. We establish, maintain, and execute the review capability to validate maturity of alternate project control systems. We do develop training-related material. We do prepare agency reports as required by Congress and OMB, or responses to requests from the IG and the GAO. And we do have a couple new people coming in. I will ask, again, make sure that you mute when you are online. I was getting some feedback there. And then the last bullet's a little bit new. We're in the process of evolving and growing an IBR capability to verify technical content and realism of related performance budgets, resources, and schedules. This is something that was called out in the, with one of the FAR changes. It's something that in part DOE has, we've got a very robust EIR, ICE, and an ICR process, but we're looking at growing our capability there in terms of how we are performing that in meeting that requirement. For PARS, it is, like I said, the source of truth, the system of record. We develop, maintain, and administer the project performance data and documentation repository. As many people here know, this past year, Amber's team has been working diligently as we transition the data collection from MDB and CSV to JSON, a much more robust format. It much improved data quality. So we've been working very diligently on that. We enhance the information systems and processes. We'll touch on WALT and our use of AI. We coordinate with departmental staff program offices to make sure that we're appropriately using and to facilitate the appropriate use of performance information to inform decision makers. I touched on data integrity and quality, making sure that what we're putting in the system of record is in fact good information. And we continue to leverage AI to be innovative in terms of how we can more effectively and more efficiently use PARS. And the last one's a catch-all, identifying and implementing industry best practices for project management. I think that's fairly straightforward. So now I'm going to touch on a few of the recent project management changes. In March of 2025, like I said, Secretary Wright published a memo to strengthen the national laboratory efficiency and mission execution. There was a number of items on this memo. I'm going to focus my comments on the first one in terms of increasing delegated project authority. The memo raised the delegated project authority under our order, 413.3B, from $50 million to $300 million for national labs that are managed under M&O contracts. It does allow tailoring of 413.3B to both the number of independent project reviews for specific critical decision points. As most of you know, we have DOE uses CD gates for projects that are between 300 million and $1 billion. Key point here, this is contingent on sustained successful project execution. It's everything that the objectives of this memo were to reduce administrative burdens, unnecessary regulations, accelerate improvements at the labs, to enhance efficiency and accountability in project execution. So I think the key point here is all of these changes for the projects are contingent on the IPTs maintaining and sustaining the successful project execution. And then of note also was the larger projects exceeding $1 billion would continue to follow the full scope of the order 413.3B requirements. So that was back in March. And since then, in September, just a little over a month ago, Deputy Secretary Danley published 3 memos, again, looking at changes for NNSA capital asset projects. So the first one was looking at the project execution, again, combining critical decision gates and project reviews, especially early in the project, CD0, CD1, again, assuming that all of the work to meet those gates is still being completed, and talked about changing the verbiage in terms of a formal cost range, delaying that until the completion of the conceptual design, and again, in accordance with the statute, and then allowed flexibility to add additional project reviews as directed by the PME. So the next one talks about utilizing commercial project delivery methods, primarily for non-nuclear, non-complex construction projects, again, lower risk projects, and that stated that projects could actively and should actively use risk-informed permanent plant construction acquisition prior to the approval of CD3 for items such as rebar, concrete placement, structural steel insulation, high design maturity type items before the entire design is finalized. And again, the PME would be the approval authority for such decisions, with final decision authority resting with the Deputy Secretary for any approvals on projects greater than $300 million. And then the final one was looking at a little bit adding flexibility in terms of applying project confidence levels. DOE does have guidance that's out there in terms of the appropriate levels. Programs are encouraged to consider risk across their portfolios, as well as historical performance when selecting the confidence level and the associated amounts of MR and contingency for these projects. And he did emphasize to ensure weapons program flexibility, confidence levels may be below the DOE guide, the 21A recommended 70%. So that was the first memo that he put out. The second one dealt with our federal project director certification. He transferred to NNSA the responsibility for appointing and certifying FPDs for all NNSA projects. The expectation is that the NNSA FPDs will continue to participate in the DOE PM Career Development Program for development, training, mentoring, and rotational activities. And finally, the one that's most significant to PM-30 is that third memo recognized NNSA as the CFA going forward, per the FAR, with the responsibility to evaluate and certify NNSA contractor EVMS certification, compliance with the EIA 748 standard. So this was, like I said, early in September. This is a capability that NNSA is developing, will stand up. I believe there was a plan put in forth in terms of a transition plan for them. DOE PM, we've been in meetings with NNSA in terms of how that transfer will work. It's still, as I understand it, in draft form in terms of their plan. I probably won't comment a whole lot on what that plan, is going to look like, when it is rolled out. Again, it will be for NNSA projects. This will be transferred over to their organization. We're going to work closely with them in terms of the transfer, in terms of continuity, if there's anything, to make sure that it minimizes the impact on the contractor community. So PM-30 will continue to innovatively use IP2M METRR. So, we have been, I think that the chips have all been on the table since I've been a part of the organization in terms of using this methodology. We plan to continue to do that. It works very well in terms of the maturity model, recognizing that compliance is not a single point in time, a snapshot. It is a snapshot, and there's the maturity model construct allows you to look at different levels across the various sub-processes and attributes of an EVMS. Purpose behind the EVMS obviously is to get good data, actionable project data and information to inform decision makers. And again, as I mentioned earlier, Amber's team with the JSON transition has been working very diligently on that. The stated objective is to have everybody transferred over to JSON by the end of the calendar year. We have made substantial progress on that, and we're continuing to work through the remaining projects that are still not transitioned and using the new methodology. So IP2M METRR, again, is we are using it in all of our reviews. We continue to use it. As we've looked at it, we've kind of co-opted some of the methodology when we've done EIRs to look at PDRI. We're looking at it as part of a compliance tool. Really, at that point, or in surveillance, it's kind of late in the project life cycle. We believe the earlier we can get that done, IBR or earlier than that, we believe that it's something that can help the project team to more effectively execute their projects. We do believe that the environment, again, as the study showed, drives the discipline project management. And so we have been continuing to use that, and we will in our upcoming reviews that we have. The use of artificial intelligence has also helped us, obviously after the DRP and the reduction in our headcount, we're really leaning on this tool to make us able to work more effectively, more efficiently. And we're pushing new applications across all of PM. I've got a slide, I'll talk to that. But some of the highlights in terms of improving our narrative assessments, our reports, our issuances, allowing stuff to be, again, it can ingest a lot of data and help you to find information between documents. We've also tied it very, very closely to our developing our root cause analyses, fish zones, based on the environment assessment outcomes from reviews as well as maturity outcomes. We believe this is allowing us to work with the contractor to correct any deficiencies faster, more effectively, and again, get to a certified system and better information for decision makers. So, as most of you know, and Amber presented this as part, I think it was the EM workshop, a project management workshop. Her team has really advanced the use of this methodology. WBS Walt was the name that our agentic AI gave himself. It is now an option. You can see down here in the lower right-hand corner. As you get into PARS, everybody has access to it. It can use anything digital, search engines, databases, image generators. It's behind our firewall. You're not just asking questions for it anymore. PARS is a system with a lot of information in it, and we believe that we can leverage this tool to help people access the information in it on their project and make more informed analyses and decisions. It's not just a chat box. Walt is able to use tools. Again, like I said, he is available to all PARS users, and it's got access to all PARS documents and PARS data. So these last couple of slides I've got are just, I talk through our process. The compliance review process, we've got our ECRSOP, we've got the 10B guide, we've got the order. Everything is, it's the same basic process. We're continuing to try to continuously evolve and rely more on AI, rely more on IP2M METRR, as this process is again, as we have integrated in our compliance review. Part of the preparation planning, we are basically using this when we create the charter, as we do our reviews. The document and data review, we are trying to get away from the days of the big data calls and leverage information that the contractor's already reporting into PARS. Again, there are some additional documents that are required for the review, but this is something that, again, minimizing the footprint, minimizing the impact on the project team as they are preparing for the review. Again, data evaluation, we are using PARS, and Empower is our analysis tool that we have. We do still conduct interviews similar to what we've done. The environment interviews are really assessments. We have a process. We've done this, and I think it's 12 or 13 is the total number of reviews we've used it on. We take the comments from that, and we are able to leverage and create strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats for the EVMS, and we have used it to help the contractor develop their corrective action plan. The example I used here was a fishbone diagram on EAC realism. So it's a time of transition right now. I think the reality is we knew from where we were. We were still trying to work our way through all of the changes that are underway. And I'll be happy to take some questions. And I'd like to have a dialogue in terms of anything I may have said that you'd like me to speak more on, or if there's something I can't comment on, I can at least let you know for certain that is something that is still out there being developed. So didn't quite make it 35, 40 minutes. But with that, I guess, Tim, do we have any questions from anybody on the call?
I'm not seeing any questions posted to the chat. Dustin, if you could do me a favor and check, just because it seems like you've got more powerful login than I do, but I think we could probably open it up. If folks want to ask a question, just go ahead and raise your hand and we can call on you that way.
Sam, I can convert the slides to, and I will send them to Tim. Should I send them to you or Barry?
Yeah, send them to me, and we'll send out the slides and a link to the recording after the meeting.
Okay.
So, Kevin, I had a question on. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just asking if we open for questions now.
Yes.
I'm doing my best to follow this while I'm in the car, headed to Newark Airport. Hey, Kevin, I know there's a lot of elephants in the room here on these topics that you've been discussing with us for the last 30 minutes or so. But one of them that I'm particularly interested in is kind of how IP2M meter might transition to NNSA. As I'm assuming it sounds like the PM-30 and the reviews the PM-30 does, IP2M meter will still be a significant part of that. Is that going to, with the NNSA and NSSA projects that are being reviewed by I don't even know the right office and the correct office that's responsible for this now at NNSA, but I'm wondering if they're also the transition to NNSA includes the IP2M meter.
So the short answer is I think that's going to be when NNSA comes out with their new process, rolls it out. It will be again. They will have their own unique process. I can't really comment in terms of. I've got my thoughts of where they're going, but I think it's more appropriate. Okay. Yeah, we have been meeting with them. I want to say for we've got a weekly stand up. We're talking on transition on a number of different sites. They have, they've got some draft documents. I know they're out there. They've got their process in terms of I don't know that they have got their approved areas of responsibility, their organizational responsibility, all of that. I think I'll go back to the earlier point I made. This is still about a month old. And so there's still a lot of change underway in terms of how that's being handled.
Okay, thank you, Kevin.
Okay, we've got a couple of hands raised. Dan Goldsmith, you had your hand up?
Yeah, hey, Kevin. Question, I know that you had mentioned the dollar threshold change for EVMS. I saw that in the memo. Does that in any way affect what programs would have to submit to PARS, or does that remain unchanged? Do you know?
So, as of now, that has not changed. Again, there's a lot that is fluid in looking at what might happen, but there have been no changes yet in terms of requirements. Now, I think you can start looking at potential things. If you do have, we have the PARS data structure, which is you've got the required data sets. You may eventually get to something where if you have a tailored project that is not doing everything per the, maybe it doesn't fit all the data sets, you may need some flexibility there. Those are, as we progress, I think those are questions that are going to be answered, and we're going to have to look at those. I think, the JSON information is, and the data sets that are out there, to me, it's a very clean way of it would probably facilitate doing that. But right now, the requirements for the order are everything above 50 million.
All right. Thanks, Kevin.
All right. Thanks. And then Brad Richards, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I have an easy softball question. So last year, I guess it was September, Dave and Amber assisted NASA with conducting a customized IPM 2 meter review. Have any of the other 12 or 13, I think I heard a number, have they been full blown, or have you looked at applying a custom review, or what is the, I guess, the outcome of that? Was it useful for the database? Is it something that's considered, or is it has been done in other types of reviews?
Oh, great question. So, let me address that on two different fronts. One from a maturity perspective, and then one from the environment. So, we have done on the maturity side, I want to say 2 different surveillance events, where again we picked going in, picked higher risk areas to focus on. Again, the tool is such that you can, there's 1,000 points total possibility. As you only assess certain areas, you can, you look at 700 points and you divide by 700, the denominator is that as opposed to the normal. So we have done that on 2 different maturity assessments. On the environment, last review that we did, we had done a previous environment assessment, and instead of doing it's been a couple of years, but instead of doing everything, we picked, I think, the 70%, the Pareto, less than half of the different factors, equaling 70% of the significance, and we did that. So that again, I look at the what IP2M meter can do in terms of its flexibility, allowing you to look at that. It has allowed us to, again, pick and choose just those areas. So, and then the other thing that we've looked at is kind of taking the IP2M meter environment assessment and kind of customizing it for PDRI. We've done that on, I believe, 2 different EIRs where we hadn't done a compliance assessment, a maturity, and an environment assessment, and we use those comments as well. So we've used it to as it's the tool allows you to that flexibility, and we plan to continue to use that. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think you did. I think it brought up another question or 2. So you talked about the importance of getting in early on in the project. So look at the IPM2 meter and the 1,000 points that you could pick and choose some criteria that would assist and be more appropriate for early on. So that would give you a subset of issues to address. But then also for like the IBR. So I guess there's that potential that you could customize the tool for those specific type of reviews. I don't know if it's so much of a question, but
so I guess let me actually, and I'll credit Dave Kester. So having seen the process that DOE PM is using, I think it'd be good to get your feedback or your comments in terms of the traditional NASA EVMS certification review, and then the process that Amber and Dave used that with you. What are your thoughts in terms of the different approach?
Well, I think it added a lot of credence to the importance of the environment, and that I think we all know that if you don't have buy-in at the top, then you're unlikely to succeed. So I think it enhanced our review substantially, in my opinion. I have with some of my other colleagues out there, I think they would agree with that.
I think the other thing that as you as I'm kind of thinking through the last question that you had is, by doing it earlier in the process, again, I'm a certification review, any surveillance or any assessment. I don't think is a binary pass fail. It's a we were here at this snapshot early in the project life cycle. Was maybe later in the project life cycle we have other issues because it's stressing our system or it's using our system in a different way. Maybe we've had turnover. Maybe we've matured quite a bit. It allows, I think, earlier in the process, if the IPT uses it, again, it allows them to understand how their system is performing and identifies areas where they can, focus any continuous improvement, or if they have any, we have a problem that's developed here, they can go back and reassess it. Again, it's chips are still all on the table in terms of DOE PM's use of it.
So Kevin, I had a question. This is Tim, and this is really for, I guess, anybody that's been involved in conducting meter reviews. Has there been any follow-on reviews after the initial review, and have you seen the scores improve? So, you do the first review, it identifies the issues, but then a follow-on at some point, whether it's 12 months down the line or another major milestone. And has there been any, I'm not sure if it's been utilized long enough, but it'd be interested to see kind of the end results for organizations. That's for anybody that maybe has done that.
Hey, Tim, this is Dave Kester. So, yes, sir, indeed. We added the back end piece to this at our last destination. So we got down pretty good the environment assessment, and we did our maturity assessment. And what that location liked a lot about the maturity assessment was what we call the reconciliation piece of that. So what happens is once we gather the scores from the three entities, if you will, meaning the PM review team, the contractor, and then the local feds, we then compare scores real time with those three entities, and we have an open and very beneficial conversation. And there are some changing of the mind once that conversation happens. So it's very collaborative. It's very open. There's a lot of utility. But to answer your question, the back end of that was our root cause analysis. And this is where we took all of the findings, if you will, of the maturity, aligned those with environment drivers, and actually went down with all the entities, those three entities I mentioned, at the contractor's location, and developed root cause analysis and corrective actions that they were working towards resolving. Very, very collaborative, and we did take our Mentimeter survey of the group because we want to get a pulse of what they're thinking about, and they felt that approach significantly reduced the time of turning around a corrective action management plan. So very, very beneficial and a very good experience.
Yeah, that's fantastic, because the corrective actions can take a long time in the traditional method. So if this shortens up and you can start seeing those results, that's fantastic.
And that was big. That was big to PM as we did that, because to your point, Tim, that traditionally it's the bring me a different rock.
Right.
And back and forth we go. And it takes upwards years sometimes to get to, not a whole lot, to be honest. So this really was in the moment. It was back to back to back months. It took us 3 months to do all three pieces of this, meaning the environment, then the maturity, that third month, the quick turnaround, we were able to get down there, and the data was fresh with them. It resonated with them, right? Rather than us waiting 6 months to come back and start talking about this stuff, and maybe some of this stuff has been resolved. It was real time with them. So just a very good experience.
Great, thanks, Dave. So we've got another question posted to the chat. Sam is asking about, so you'd like to hear more about the PM-30 plans for the IBR. Are you preparing guidance for the conduct of the IBR similar to EIR's ICE SOPs? And or are you planning for PM-30 to offer the IPTs to conduct the IBRs? So Kevin, I think that's for you.
Okay, I'll take, and actually, I did want to go back and I'll address that. But one final comment on your, the secondary reviews that we've had. I know of 2 locations, one that we've done at least a follow-on maturity assessment, and one of them I know we've done a follow-on environment assessment. And again, you can do the first assessment and then you look at the second one in terms of if the corrective actions were in place and if the effective implementation, you could see the difference review to review. So there is in fact we do have a couple of examples where we have done that. I don't have that information off the top of my head. I would have to phone a friend, and I don't see him online right now. So,
yeah, well, it sounds like a good topic for the next working group meeting.
May I
put in
just one more additional point, Kevin? I did want to expand. Sorry, Sam, we'll get to your question in a moment on IBRs. Just a note that PM-30 highly encourages all of the sites to do their own internal surveillance in IP2M meter, and we've actually established a new award, the Project Controlled Excellence Award, that has as a component of its requirements to have conducted IP2M meter. And we were able to award that to 2 separate projects this last year. So there's also that encouragement to do the internal surveillance annually as a part of your EVMS CEAC type of process.
Okay, great. Thanks, Amber.
Thank you.
Okay. So now let me circle back to Sam's question. So the leveraging WBS Vault, we took copies of the NDIA, a number of different organizations, NRO, NASA, and got IBR guidance. And we have looked at, we had some kind of a mini SOP at DOE that was never an official SOP. And we are in the process of looking at that, the conduct of an IBR, and I won't say customizing them, but making it fit within the normal DOE review cycle. Again, there's a really nice table that again we've used leveraged the WBS Vault to help us out. But looking at the difference between an IBR and an EIR, some of the similarities, some of the differences, and we're in the process of trying to create something in terms of an SOP. Now, I'm not sure what the appetite in the current environment is to add another SOP, but at a bare minimum, we can put a draft one out there as a reference in terms of, or include it someplace as a practice, a best practice. It's not quite ready for prime time yet. The thought that we had was we're still kind of working a little bit on our own. Then we could get it to FCOG in terms of socializing it. But again, it's something that maybe in the past you would have a couple of analysts and you're going through a lot of documents. The use of some of the tools that are out there and that we will continue to be able to use going forward, I think is to me it's exciting just in terms of how quickly we can create and vet and socialize potential new processes. So don't have anything to share with you yet, Sam, but I'd be happy to have a follow-on conversation as we progress.
All right, thanks, Kevin.
Hey, Tim. One last thought. I wanted to, a piece to your question, and I'm looking at what Kevin has there with the XY, the maturity and environment. So that last stop I talked about, there were 2 assessments about a year apart at that same location, and Kevin was able to present the results of those scores using that very same red, yellow, green to show the contrasting differences of what a year changed, if you will, in terms of improvements from those entities that I talked about. So the visualization of the results using that chart was pretty powerful in the exit brief, and showing, what entity made the most significant progress towards getting to that green block and how far they came over that year. So very quantifiable, certainly qualitative as well, but the visualization of the metrics coming out of this is very helpful.
Okay, great. That's fantastic. I think one of the things, in my experience with METR is everybody likes the concept, but I feel like there's a lot of people out there in the industry that are kind of waiting to see what are the results, right? Is there going to be a payoff? And it sounds like we're starting to see that payoff with these follow-on reviews and the improvements. So the time saving in general is great, but that follow-on improvement is great to hear about. All right, I'm not seeing are there any other questions online that I maybe missed in the chat? I don't see any other hands raised. All right, and we'll give one last go around if anybody wants to unmute and ask a question. Otherwise, we will wrap it up. We're coming up on the time anyways. All right. So Kevin, thank you very much for jumping on and providing all this information. Fascinating to hear kind of how things are changing and what you guys are doing to help improve project execution. And really appreciate everybody's time, and particularly Kevin, your time in putting together the presentation and giving it. Barry, I'll hand it over to you if you are still online.
Yeah, I'm still on, and thanks very much, Tim, for kind of keeping the ball rolling here. Yeah, Kevin, I'd like to thank you and Amber and Dave, all the folks at the PM-30 team for taking time out of your busy schedules to kind of do this. We would say maybe mid-January or so for the next meeting. It sounds like we may have a couple of potential topics for that meeting in January that have kind of surfaced as a result of our discussion today. So we'll put something together on our end. Tim and I will start getting the conversation going, and hopefully we'll have something, another session in middle of January for those that are interested in understanding more about IP2M METRR.
Barry, Tim, thank you very much.
All right, thanks everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.